Welcome to the Modest Bombshell. In today's episode of Lessons from the Bible, we explore the teachings of the Bible on masculinity and virtuous manhood. We'll dive into specific verses, examples, and legends from the Bible that shed light on this important topic. In our modern world, true masculinity is constantly under attack by the radical left, or it is being misrepresented by toxic men who do their more refined peers a disservice. Join me as we uncover valuable insights on how the Bible addresses issues of toxic masculinity and guides men in cultivating virtuous qualities of manhood for a healthier and more balanced expression of masculinity. As stated in 1 Corinthians 16:13, we see an incredible example of courage and strength in the legendary story of David and Goliath, where a young shepherd boy fearlessly faced a giant warrior through his unwavering trust in God.
In the Bible, the very first aspect of virtuous manhood is courage and strength. In today's world, we often see this aspect of manhood being distorted and misrepresented. Either it is being watered down, so we want men to be less masculine because we have this perceived fear of dangerous men. And it's not really a perceived fear, it's a well-placed fear. It's a true fear, and it comes from history and what we know of dangerous men throughout history. It's informing how we perceive men today, and that's not fair because there are some great men out there. So it's misrepresented by trying to dilute manhood and making men feel as if something is wrong with them for being men. And then on the flip side, it's also misrepresented and distorted through, especially in young men today, men in their 20s who often are not very courageous at all. They've kind of lost that sort of heroic quality that we love in men. And instead, they're very cowardly, spineless. They don't really stand on any principles, both to society as well as with their own male friends. So courage and strength, the first aspect of manhood, of virtuous, strong manhood, it has been corrupted today. However, in the Bible, men are taught to be watchful, firm in their faith, and to lead with strength, not tyranny. Strength and compassion, not tyranny, not authoritarianism. So what can we learn from the story of David and Goliath? Well, for starters, David makes it very clear that you don't need to be some massive 200-pound man made of nothing but muscle in order to be masculine. Masculine is not something that you can go to the gym and put on. It is something that comes from deep within you, and that is what David had. He had a courage that was deep within him, a courage that he got not from the world around him, but from God. Young men today tend to pick up their courage from the world around them, maybe music. They see music videos of their favorite rapper with guns, and they think that that is what strength and courage is all about. Maybe they go to the gym, lift some weights, and now they're big and strong, and so they go out into the world. They're aggressive, they're brusque, they're mean. That is not what courage is. That is not what masculine strength is. And David and Goliath is a perfect example of what true masculinity looks like. When you take your courage and your strength from God first and not this man-made world.
Leadership and responsibility are fundamental aspects of virtuous manhood. Ephesians 5:25 reminds husbands to love their wives sacrificially, following the example of Christ's love for the church. Joseph, the husband of Mary and earthly father figure to Jesus, exemplifies responsible leadership through his integrity, wisdom, and dedication to protecting and providing for his family.
What can we learn from this story? Look at the way that Saint Joseph leads his family. Does he lead his family with control, dominance, aggression, tyranny, abuse of power? No, not at all. Saint Joseph takes on a very sacred calling to provide for his family, to lead them spiritually as well as physically in this world. He protects them, he cares for them. He is a prime example next to Jesus. He's a prime example of servant leadership and what servant leadership looks like when you lead with compassion rather than aggression and dominance and anger. Now, I just want to pause here for a second because oftentimes when we put words like compassion love, servant next to masculine, it sounds almost as if we are making it seem as though dominance and aggression are bad things. Not necessarily. These things can be very useful, especially when it's time for men to protect their loved ones. We need men to have a capacity for aggression and for violence, because in times of war, who are we going to lean on? In times of danger, who are we going to lean on? So it's important that men have that aspect, but it's also important that it's refined and men are not leaning on their physical strength over women and children and their physical dominance in order to lead and control. That is when we get into tyrannical territory. That is not servant leadership, and that is not the way masculinity should look like, instructed by God.
Another vital virtue is integrity and honesty. Proverbs 10:9 emphasizes the value of walking in integrity, highlighting the importance of honesty even in challenging situations. The story of Daniel demonstrates unwavering integrity as he remained true to his faith and principles despite facing great pressure and opposition.
So what can we take from the story of Daniel, who experienced hardship, and even through that hardship, he maintained his integrity? So in today's world, oftentimes when we experience financial hardship, we go through a struggle financially, economically, especially with young men, they are often pressured by this need to provide, to present as masculine to the world, to society, to tell society, hey, I am valuable, I have value, I'm not useless, but I can't get a job, I have no money, I have to do something. So these young men often turn to the streets. They turn to drug dealing, gang banging, doing other illicit things for money. Maybe some might even go into making porn, I don't know. I think there's men on OnlyFans, but I'm not sure. So they lose their integrity. However, like Daniel, in these times of hardship, instead of looking at the world and sort of worshiping the things in this world like money, notoriety, glory, look to God, follow his example. And that's what we need in men. Men who aren't in situations of hardship, they crumble. We don't need that. That isn't good for our families. That's not good for your wives or your children, your households. You gotta be strong in times of hardship when you're facing that, and maintain your integrity.
Wisdom and discernment are qualities that a virtuous man should strive for. Proverbs 3:13-14 teaches that wisdom is more valuable than material wealth. King Solomon, known for his wisdom, sought God's guidance and made wise choices throughout his life, setting an example for men to pursue wisdom and make discerning decisions.
So wisdom and discernment, this is such an important quality in men. Wisdom and discernment might also be called prudence. So prudence is such a great quality for men to have. It's one of the 4 cardinal virtues for men, for everyone, but especially for men. A man who lacks wisdom and who lacks discernment is susceptible to temptation, to his lust, and everything in between. And men who lack prudence cannot properly lead. If you're in a situation where you need to make a quick cut decision and you don't have proper wisdom, you haven't cultivated your wisdom by reading the word, by sitting with God, you have not nourished your own discernment. So, it's in these types of situations when you need to make a decision on behalf of your family, if you're going to be a householder and you're going to be a leader, if you lack discernment, how are you going to do that? You can't. So to be a strong masculine figure within your household, within your marriage, or what have you, or just in life in general, for those of you who aren't married and have no family, still, now is the time to begin developing your wisdom, your discernment.
Humility and servanthood are essential aspects of virtuous manhood. Philippians 2:3-4 encourages men to prioritize the needs of others and display humility in their interactions. The ultimate example of humility and servanthood is Jesus himself, who humbly washed the feet of his disciples, teaching men to serve others with love and compassion.
So, God calls men to lead by serving. And that word might have a lot of negative connotation to it. But men can definitely begin to redefine that word when we say servant leadership. So God calls men to serve or to lead by serving, not by tyranny, not by possessiveness, not by seeing your loved ones as things that you own and have all of this control over. That isn't the type of masculinity that God has called men to embody and to present to the world. Godly servant leadership is not an aversion to caring for and listening to others.
The Bible's teachings challenge the harmful aspects of toxic masculinity by emphasizing love, compassion, respect, and equality. Following the examples set by Jesus and other biblical figures, men can embody virtues such as humility, selflessness, and empathy. Through personal growth and accountability, men can redefine masculinity and contribute to a culture that values authenticity and fosters healthier relationships. Embracing the wisdom of the Bible doesn't diminish masculinity. Instead, it enhances it by allowing men to embrace their full potential as individuals created in the image of God. By incorporating these teachings into their lives, men become positive role models, shaping a society that values mutual respect, equality, and appreciates the unique strengths of both men and women. The transformation from toxic masculinity to virtuous manhood requires self-reflection, accountability, and a commitment to personal growth. Through this journey, men challenge harmful presumptions about men, that all men are dangerous, evil, manipulative, selfish, and sexually immoral. Men, by following God's instruction, can contribute to a world where men can express their masculinity in a way that uplifts, empowers, and respects all individuals, and most importantly, is true to himself in God's way.
Today, men can definitely take a tip from the Bible when it comes to developing a masculinity that is true, it's pure, it isn't attached to the things of this world, money, cars, flashy stuff, girls, all of that stuff. Manhood that is not attached to this world and is instead inspired by something a little greater and a little higher is the type of masculinity that we need in the world. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've taken something meaningful from this. Do like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on our next release of Lessons from the Bible. And until next time.